Hi, welcome to Entre, Nosotros on CCP TV, the Emmy award-winning educational channel of Community College Philadelphia. I'm your host, Gilberto Gonzalez. Today, my guest is Charito Morales. Welcome, bienvenido. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Charito Morales. I'm not native from Philadelphia. I've been here in the city of Philadelphia for 23 years. Mm-hmm. I'm from Quebradillas, Puerto Rico. I'm an indigenous descendant from the island, Taíno.
Wow, beautiful. So you're in Philadelphia, and one of the things we're going to talk about is Hurricane Maria and the impact it's had on the island. But first, I want to get a little bit of background information. Like Puerto Rico has been a colony of the United States for how many years?
Wow, over 125 years or more.
Of colonialism.
Colonialism. We are the longest colonial island, and we are being colonized. We are the longest to be colonized, different than different than Hawaii or the U.S. Virgin Island.
So when they colonized Puerto Rico, we were part of the Spanish-American War, just to give some brief history. And at that time, during the Spanish-American War, was Puerto Rico part of Spain? Was it an independent country? Like, what was it?
No, Puerto Rico was completely independent. Then Spain took us over without our permission. Mm-hmm. And then from there, after the American and Spanish war, that's when we ended up being sold to the United States of America.
Ah, okay.
Without our consent.
Right, exactly. So, and then since the United States colonized the island, what is the political structure of the island?
Puerto Rico's structure in right now is not in place. Puerto Rico has been going through struggles. The government is either Republican or Democrat, or they want to be independent, which is el Partido Socialista Puertorriqueño. We're constantly fighting. Puerto Ricans want to be independent. They don't want to be part of the United States anymore. They don't want to be colonized anymore.
So, what in the case of Puerto Rico colonization, like, what does that mean for us? Does it mean like where do our laws come from? Where does our money come from? How does all that get managed in Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico is a self-sustainable island. So we have a lot of products that we, like sugar canes back then, the salt, everything like that. But right now we are making money with the coffee, green spaces. And we also used to have the manufacturers in the island, but when they took over the 936, which is now 936 in Puerto Rico, all their industries came back to the United States or to Dominican Republic. Right now, Puerto Rico is being working for the private sector and the public sectors, which is the government, like hospitals, colleges, schools, and different like local businesses and government agencies. But overall, half of the Puerto Ricans, I would say, we have to work outside in the United States to provide to the mainland. Right. Our money is coming out. It's not coming in. Our money all money is for the United States, and we only get at least 2 or 3% of that money to invest in the island of Puerto Rico.
Is that by choice or who?
It is not by choice. We have something called the Jones Act. And whatever we produce in the island of Puerto Rico, it have to come over here and and tax it in another way form, and then we have to bring it back to the island, resell it for 19.5, which is the tax in Puerto Rico. The government stay with 17. The American government stay with 17. The Puerto Rican government stay with 1, and the people who are actually producing their own products only stay with 1. So they don't have no money to invest, but they also have to come out of the expensive.
So the Jones Act was imposed by the president, Congress. Who imposed it?
It was by the Congress. It's the Congress.
So the Congress, yes. Right now, the United States Congress has control of the island.
Correct. The United States Congress have the solution, but they're ready not to use that. If the Congress release us from the Jones Act, Puerto Rico's economy will boost completely and will be more financially in a different positions.
So right now, like one of the aspects that you just spoke about, and I just want to make it clear, is that if something is to be sold in Puerto Rico, even if it's made in Puerto Rico, it has to come back here.
Even if it's made in your own backyard, it has to be sent to United States here in Florida. It's Tallahassee, Florida. They have a space in there, and they what they do, they tax it. They say, well, this is going to be worth $37. So out of the $37, we keep $35. You keep one, and they only get the 1% maybe, and that's how it is. That's the Jones Act. That's how Puerto Rico needs to operate to United States.
Why don't the Puerto Ricans fight? Why has there been ever a movement to protest? Has there ever been a particular person that has led an effort to fight the United States? Or is it just that everybody's okay with it?
No, Puerto Rico has been fighting against the United States for years. Big example is Doña Lolita Lebrón. Big example is Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos. Big example is Dr. Ramón Emeterio Betances, Lola Rodríguez de Tíos, and you name it. They are putting a fight. Right now, we're putting a fight. Charito Morales is putting a fight. You know, my coworkers at Philly Boricuas are putting a fight.
Cool.
Because we want to be independent. We want to make sure that we're going to keep being self-sustainable, because Puerto Rico is a self-sustainable. We do not need to depend from the United States, because actually we are not dependent. They depend on us. Let me clarify that. We are the longest colony in the whole entire world. One, United States do not want to release Puerto Rico because they are getting our money. They need our financial solvencies. If not, everything in the, I would say, is in the Wall Street will fall down. That was a big example. I can thank you for mentioning that. Let me clarify something. When we was taking over the island a couple of months ago, and we took over the government, and we want Ricardo Rosselló to resign, and we actually did, thanks to the people in Puerto Rico and diaspora supporting the island. We saw the unifying our knowledge, our power, our use, our voices. We take things, in the hands of matters, right? But we are trying to do that in the Congress. We are trying to talk to the Congress. We are trying to talk to the diaspora. And we are trying to talk to the people in Puerto Rico that it's important that we keep fighting to become independent, because we can make our own sustainable island. We do not need anything from America, because actually United States take in at least the 95% of the Puerto Rican financial.
Wow. So let's focus a little bit on the struggle again. Like Albizu Campos, you mentioned Albizu Campos and Lolita Lebrón. So just give me let's talk about Lolita first. Who is she and what did she do?
Who she was, Lolita, it was Puerto Rican independent warrior, I will say that. She notices that we was going to struggle because they was bringing medicines to Puerto Rico and testing medication in the island, right? And she also notices that she was reading the notes from Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos and Dr. Ramón Emeterio Betances, and they say, this is wrong. How we got, let's say an example, we got $100, right? And if we got $100, why we got to provide them $75 out of the 100, and I don't get anything to invest? Why we got to give them when they're using our land, they're using our people, they're using our resources? We have to speak up. We have to create changes, because that's impossible. We cannot live like that. So they was fighting for justice. They was fighting because we have a voice. They was fighting to fight what it was wrong, to fix it. And they had notices they using the regulations and the reforms from the Congress and American, it was not the right thing to do. So when they start fighting, they called them macheteros, and they say they was killing people. That was the way they was defending the island, which was the wrong message. That never happened. Not even one of my compañeros being arrested for that kind of crime, killing people. Actually, they was trying to save the island. They was trying to save the island to avoid the struggles that we are facing right now in the 21st century in 2019.
Wow.
And this is a constantly battle.
So Lolita discovered all this stuff, and
they did.
And she,
they want to have a voice. They came over here to have a voice. They wanted it to be heard. They wanted it to be listened.
Right, and she, what did she do? She shot up Congress? What did she do?
When the American government went to Ponce, Puerto Rico, they had the massacre of Ponce. They waited for everybody to come out of the mass from the church. And it was children's, families, and everybody was innocent. They came out, and these corporal sergeants and captains from the government, they went to Puerto Rico, and they started shooting. They start killing each individual who walked out of
And
that
that's
church.
the Ponce massacre?
Correct. And they got really angry because they went to the police. They called the United States forces and say, hey, what happened? Why you guys are doing that? We want justice. All these people who did this, they need to be held accountable. They needed to be processed. They ignored them. And what happened? They came to America, they went to the White House, and they stood in there and said, we want to be heard. This is not acceptable. We're not going to accept that. In behalf of the Puerto Rican people, we're here to defend. We need to have a voice. They never listened to them. So what they did, Lolita came over here because she said, I'm going to die, but I'm going to die with my head up, with my red lipstick, and I'm going to fight for the people. I'm going to do the right thing.
Wow.
And Rafael Miranda Cancel, and they came over here with 2 other colleagues, and what they did, they shot, but they used bullets, but they went up to the roof. They never shot to kill.
Right.
They shot to call for attention. They wanted people to pay attention to them because they wanted to be heard. They wanted to tell people what they did in America and Puerto Rico, what the American people did to our people in Puerto Rico.
So now you said it, I think you almost said it, but I kind of remember a speech somebody gave, and they said that they asked Lolita Lebron, why did you come to kill Americans? And she says, no, I came to die for my country.
That's correct. That's exactly what she says. And they asked her if she feels remorses, and she said no. If I have to do it 100 times again, I will do it 100 times again, because I came here to defend Puerto Rico, and I came here to defend my island, and I came over here to defend my dignity and the dignity from Puerto Rico.
So now I'm going to piss you off a little bit and say, like, a lot of people don't know Lolita Lebron, right? A lot of even Puerto Ricans in the city, like, what's your feelings about that? That
I
people
am
don't
Lolita.
know. You are Lolita?
I am Lolita. I am a defendant of Lolita. All females in Puerto Rico are Lolitas.
Wow.
We are Lolitas because we are fighting from Puerto Rico. And it's nothing to be ashamed to say her name and fight for what is right and continue her legacy and what she was fighting for, the right purpose and the right thing.
So the other person there are a lot of people to talk about, but the other one that I did a little bit of research on was Albizu Campos.
Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos, el padre de la patria puertorriqueña, the father of the island of Puerto Rico, I would say that he was fighting for what is right. He was the first African Latino in Yale University and Harvard University also.
Wow.
And he creates changes. He was there to educate himself in law. He went there to make changes and bring that knowledge back to the island of Puerto Rico. And instead of that, he was persecuted. He was abused mentally and physically.
I read something where they called him crazy because they thought he was getting radiation, which sounds crazy. I mean, you people talk, oh, it's conspiracy theory bullshit, blah, 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 blah. But he had burns. Do you know, tell us a little bit about that.
Doña Lolita and Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos and all the colleagues has been through that. They put them in a chair on a basement. They gave them radiation. They was being hit. They was unfit. They went through a lot to defend Puerto Rico. So
now that's happening. This country's doing that.
Correct. They did that, but they deny it. But it's evidence, physical evidence.
That they were being radiated with nuclear something.
That's correct.
Because I saw photos and I read about Albizu, how he had all these burns that came. Yeah. And they were shooting it into the cell.
That's correct.
Which is insane to me. It's like, wow. And what did he die of eventually?
He died eventually. I mean, he was old, you know, and besides that, he fight to the end. He used a lot of energy. So he died, age and also from the radiation. It was sequelas from what happened to him and his body.
So what has Hurricane Maria meant to you and to the Puerto Ricans?
Hurricane Maria opened what it was covered. Hurricane Maria uncovered the reality of what was the struggle of Puerto Rico and the colonialism. Hurricane Maria destroyed the island of Puerto Rico on September 20th, 2017. I am a nurse. I do search and rescue. I was there for 4 months, making sure the health department needs some backup and making sure the people was, getting the medication, search and rescue, pinpointing the places where the family needs water and resources, right? Hurricane Maria discovered so many things that people in Puerto Rico was talking about, how the government was mistreating Puerto Rico, how the money from Puerto Rico was coming over here and never invested back to the island, how bad our health department is, how the resources that we need never went to the island, and how FEMA was going to provide for the island. And what we have noticed after Hurricane Maria, the Puerto Rican was being treated as a second-class U.S. citizen. And the resources that we wanted, that we actually deserved, that we never had that. Puerto Rico and Hurricane Maria has become a history and a story that we are going to be talking for years and years to come.
Right after the hurricane, there were only a handful of people that died in Puerto Rico. A lot of people didn't die. That was on the news. Then they said, oh, well, maybe a couple of hundred people died. Oh, well, now there's 1,000 people died. Oh, and now there might be 4,600. So, like, what is going on that we don't even have the real number?
See, I signed a contract that I can't say exactly the numbers, but I will tell you 4,000 and plus, it is the reality. 5,000 and plus, it is a reality. 6,000 and plus is a reality. 10,000 and plus, it is a reality. Not only 14 or 12 people, like the President of the United States, Donald Trump, mentioned, and ex-governor of Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rosselló, acknowledged what he was saying and said, yes, I confirm it was 12 people, 16 people. No. They knew since the beginning they was lying. A lot of people die in hospitals. A lot of people die in the coast of the island of Puerto Rico. A lot of people die in Utuado. A lot of people die in Maria, Las Marias, Lares, in the center of the island. Puerto Rico faced at that moment what it was a hurricane. Puerto Rico not only suffered from Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico suffered for the unpreparedness of our government and unresponsive help, SOS, from the United States. United States and Puerto Rico government came up short. They wasn't ready for what happened, and they wasn't ready for the people uncovering the lies for so many years.
So now that you're talking about lies, let's move a little bit more into the history. Now, the Puerto Rican government, the U.S. government have basically been lying.
Correct.
Or not being forthcoming with information. So, and that's when you had the massive, the first time in my life I've ever seen that many Puerto Ricans come out and protest on the island, but also here. So tell me a little bit about that protest.
When Ricardo Rosselló Nevares came to Philadelphia in the United States after Hurricane Maria, I was called a crazy lady. I was told not to approach him. But I was the first person here in the city of Philadelphia that has come after Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico and faced him. I told him that he was stealing the money. I faced him. I questioned him here in Philadelphia in front of our leaders and religion leaders and everything at Esperanza. And they called me.
So he came to visit Philadelphia?
Oh, yeah, he did. He came over here to get fundings to help the Puerto Rican island. Even though all these people was giving him money and we was collecting money, the diaspora and all these artists like Rene, Calle 13, like Jennifer Lopez, everybody was collecting money, right? And they sent millions and millions of dollars to Unidos por Puerto Rico, which was his wife, Bea Beatriz account. She was receiving the money there, right? And the money was supposed to be for the people who suffer, people who was having blue tarps and everything, right? So we were sending the money there, trusting that it was going to do the right thing because Puerto Rico didn't face a hurricane in years and years like this Hurricane Maria and Irma, right? So, and the diaspora leaders and nonprofit organizations and private sector was sending billions and billions of aid to the island of Puerto Rico. When I mention people, diaspora, you haven't heard me saying the government, FEMA, Red Cross, none of that. And the people who work with me, we know firsthand what happened, what was going on in the island of Puerto Rico, because we was in the front row helping and taking care of this situation in the island.
Wow.
When he came here, he was saying that he needs help, and then I questioned him. I said, Ricardo Rosselló Nevares, why the state of Pennsylvania hasn't been declared a host state? Because we are receiving more than 1,000 families that came from the island of Puerto Rico using vouchers, TSA, from FEMA to live here in Philadelphia. We were supposed to provide them shelters. We were supposed to provide them transportation to and in and out to look for resources, right? Public county assistance offices, job fairs, things like that, you name it. And nobody, no organization was helping the brothers and sisters.
Wow.
When I came from Puerto Rico, I noticed that. And then I called for action. That's when Tania Marrero, Raquel Salas, Grimaldi Baez, Ana Montañez, Ana Cacuyani, and myself, and Kimberly Lamberti, we all start working together and organize. And we start doing our own records to help people to apply for FEMA resources to fix their households in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So all that happened, and he said he didn't have an answer, but he did sign a contract to me in front of everybody that he wants to declare Pennsylvania, like Florida, a whole state, right? But he says that some people here in Philadelphia, our leaders didn't want Philadelphia or Pennsylvania to be declared a whole state. If we wasn't declared a whole state, we couldn't get the financial solvency from FEMA. So it was a big mess. Everybody was getting orders from right and left. And then we started organize. And that's why we ended up having these people, you know, like Providence Center help a lot, APM, and SEIBA. And then we start organizing all these nonprofit organizations to help these individuals navigate the system. And actually we did. We're still going through struggles, but we learned from this one, and I hope that we don't have another hurricane, but this time we are 100% ready for whatever is the outcome.
What is the state of Puerto Rico today? And just maybe we can talk about the situation with the hospitals, maybe the environmental crisis. So
Correct.
Let's talk a little bit about the hospitals.
That's Ricky didn't leave. We make him resign with pressure. And he didn't have dignity, but we make him go. We still have a little bit of the same. We got Wanda Vasquez now as not elected governor. It was appointed.
Right.
So just clarify that. A lot of people doesn't know. She wasn't elected. She was appointed.
By the U.S. government?
By the U.S. government and the Congress and people in Puerto Rico. And then we did fight. We have some huelgas in here, and the same thing in Puerto Rico. We put pressure. Now we're more organized, and we can put up any fight we want now because we know we are strong. Puerto Rico has an issue. It's an environmental issue, a huge environmental issue, because where we live, that people come from outside and do vacation in there. Now they want to live there, and they want us, the Puerto Rican people, the diaspora, to go there and vacate, have vacation in there.
So they want us to leave the island so we can take vacation there, but they want to take over the island.
Correct. So what they're doing, they calling all these private companies to invest in Puerto Rico, taking people's deed and properties, and our coastal areas, and create these huge, big hotels and thematic theme parks and everything in our coast. They killing our coast. Now the water is gonna rise, and because we don't have the dunas, the sand dunes, all this water is gonna come inside the island. And what's gonna happen? Puerto Rico is gonna be going under the water with all this construction. They are killing our green spaces in the island.
So one of the things we were talking about earlier was and I'm not sure what you call it, but the natural filters of the island that are on the coast.
Correct.
People think they're mountains, but they're actually some kind of filter that's being destroyed too.
Well, they destroying our manantiales. A lot of people call it aljibes because this is all the groundwater that filter our potable water, right? And we have been doing that for centuries. My people, my family, my indigenous people serve from that water, you know? And they doing all this construction and they put in all these chemicals because they want to do these new constructions and they're getting into our water sources and it's killing not only us, the fish, everything. We have a lot of fishermen that are being finding all these fish are dead, killing, you know, because there has been poison. So we have testing the waters and we have evidence. Recently, we made the person in charge in the position to resign also because she was giving all this permission because somebody in the United States paying for her silence and they getting away with that. So we have noticed that we are putting a fight. We have a lot of surfers. We have a lot of people. There are ambientalists. They fighting in the front road, and we are going to stop every illegal construction in our coast and in the center of the island of Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is not for sale.
Good.
We have to make sure that we send this message. Puerto Rico, Boriken, it is not for sale and it's not going to be for sale. And if you're ready to take a fight, think about it because we're not going to back up. We're going to fight like our Indios Tainos and we are not going to stop. If we have to give up our life for the fight of Puerto Rico and our people here in the diaspora and in the island, you must believe we are going to be the first people in the front row. And this is just a statement to make people know, don't go and buy our properties. Don't do that because you are not helping us. You are destroying us. And about Vieques, the health issues, Vieques do not have a hospital. And we have at least the 3% of the people who take dialysis needs to go to the mainland of Puerto Rico to get medical assistance.
So for some folks, they might not know what Vieques is. What is Vieques?
Vieques is la Isla Nena. Vieques is a little island from Puerto Rico. It's a municipality, but it's outside the island because Puerto Rico, as you know, in 1918 has a big earthquake and separates some areas of the island. So we have Culebra, Vieques, Mona, Monito, Caja de Muerto, y Desecheo.
Vieques has no hospitals.
No.
Why is that? Like what?
And one thing that people have to know, you cannot drive from Vieques to the mainland of Puerto Rico because it's through boats and because it's in the water. So the boats are changed, the lanchas are being broken. People, the government do not want to invest. People has to make lines from hours to just go to the mainland of the island of Puerto Rico
just to get dialysis,
medical assistance and health, and even their groceries because they also don't have a supermarket after Hurricane Maria, and we need to do something.
So no supermarkets in Vieques?
No, they only a corner store, and you know you cannot like do if you want to go to the supermarket and buy all this stuff. You have to be conscious that other people want to buy, so you have to limit it yourself.
Wow. So if there are a couple of things that you would like to leave this people with, that you would just love for them to hear from you about Puerto Rico, what would those couple things be?
First of all, Puerto Rico is not for sale. Second, if you want to help Puerto Rico, look for a good organization or ask us, Charito Morales, maybe you, Gilberto Gonzalez, and other people, where you can send some resources. How can you help Puerto Rico? How can you help with the Department of Health? How you can help with the Department of Education, that we are going to struggle with the Department of Education, closing all the schools that we have closed.
We didn't talk about that,
We need to talk about that. We also need to know that Puerto Rico, the environmental is an issue, and we need to keep up fighting for our lands and our grounds.
Wow, beautiful. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Charito Morales for joining me today, and I also want to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. You have been watching the Entre Nosotros on CCP, the Emmy award-winning educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm your host, Gilberto Gonzalez. See you next time.